All right, today we're going to be taking a look at the FexDon Tek M1-12A. This video is brought to you by me and my channel, and you, the viewers who are tuning in to watch it, as well as my Patreon and YouTube members. You guys rock. Now let's get into the review of this fan. So this is a $15 for one or $35 pre-tariff. For three, current pricing I'm not entirely sure about. It's been fluctuating. So do make the proper decision for yourself based on current pricing information. That is out of my control, unfortunately. So let's jump into the fan. And this is the way the RGB looks for the FexDon. So it does have some of that halo effect, and apparently it didn't take off what are they, the wrap or whatever. But it's fine. It gives you the general idea. So the halo effect looks pretty nice in terms of illumination around the edges. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 would bring me to 8. Is that right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we'll say that. Looks about right. So that's a good amount of illumination. In terms of around the edges, well, it doesn't have the full halo effect, but it gives it a more unique type appearance. So that is kind of up to you to decide whether you like it this way or not. Having it on all sides does have certain advantages, namely of which it means that the fan can go in any direction, but I think they could save a little bit of money by only doing it on 2 sides. Because you could stack fans together and then you're blocking off, one on either side, or maybe 3 sides. I'd do 2. That could be a little bit of a budget saving option for future. The illumination does go on the edges, but there's obvious dark spots in it where there's no lighting in the corner, which does make sense, but I'm nitpicking here. In terms of the back, well, this back cable area is really big, so that's blocking off a huge amount of airflow. They could compact that down more, which would save quite a bit and or would help keep from blocking so much airflow and would actually raise the performance a little bit. The back struts, other than that one, are fine. If we come around to the front, the blade design is fairly basic. It actually looks on the small side, so this housing is really quite thick. So this isn't really a 120 millimeter class fan. It's more like 110, maybe. 100 millimeter class fan fitted into a 120 millimeter class frame. So it's just going to limit its performance to some extent. The distance between the blades and the housing is average. Nothing particularly special about that. It does have some rubber around the edges to help with noise, vibrations, that kind of thing. Definitely an appearance first type fan as opposed to performance, so it is up to you to decide with regard to that. And that's it. All right, this review is about the Ford regular edition of this fan as opposed to the reverse blade, so do keep that in mind. I will have another video about the reverse blade either before or after this video goes live. I don't know which it is because my scheduling getting out is kind of random. Anyways, the first series of tests is the case simulation test. This is assuming an air cooler in a front-to-back airflow type design, or putting fans in the bottom of your computer case and blowing them up towards your GPU. The 60 mark is that scenario I just laid out, blowing up towards your GPU. It's also for a short throw distance, like you've got an ITX build, very short computer case, and blowing right at that CPU socket. That would be that 6-inch mark. Then we got the 9-inch mark. This would be a compact tower, think something like a media center PC. That'd be very applicable to that. Then we have the 11-inch mark. That would be 320 millimeter class fans, basically your standard mid-tower computer cases. And then we got 340s for your truly large towers, your full-size towers. And we need something to compare against. We got the control fan, based 3 parts A1265 to 1 part A14. And over here, we got the forward and reverse renditions of this fan, both of which are, I'm going to call them basically completely inadequate at my noise normalized results. So we're going to move forward. At 100% PWM fan signal, they're pretty bad. So let's keep it moving and see how they compare against other fans to give a better explanation. So the M1-12A B and even the reverse blade are just sitting way, way, way down at the bottom. They are a complete far cry from the better grouping of fans and would make overall terrible choice for case lands. Now, if you insist on buying them because you like the RGB, that is up to you. I'm just telling you that there are better fans out there. For noise normalized results, where they sit in bar graph form at my 17.5 decibel reading, they're sitting well at the bottom once again. Moving things up in bar graph form, locking into 100% PW fan signal. Here they are, and they are still, well, they're still at the bottom of the graph, so nothing really has changed there, has it? Yeah, let's move on. locking into 800 RPM. And this is starting to paint a clearer picture. They're just not efficient at the RPM. This isn't even noise. This is locking in to how much air they can move at the RPM. At 1,500 RPM, they're well towards the bottom once again. And this is the noise efficiency, airspeed versus that decibel reading. And, well, they're not very efficient. They're not worst, but they're well towards the bottom of the graphs. This thing we're taking a look at in Zone. Zone is just a different way of looking at noise state. If you want to learn about Zone, I have a whole video on it on my channel. All right, now maybe we'll do better through a CPU socket, air cooler. So the CPU cooler in question here is the Noctua U12A. The first graph here is airspeed versus RPM, so this is a blade efficiency. And both these two fans is right in line with my control fan, indicating that the blade design is, relatively speaking, efficient at blowing through a cooler. But how about that noise efficiency? Ooh, well, it kind of fell apart there. The reverse blade is significantly noisier at higher RPMs than the regular edition, but they are both a far cry from my control fan. And thanks to viewers like you watching my videos and to my Patreon and YouTube members, I was able to purchase a custom loop radiator, the Nemesis 140 GTX. Unfortunately, I don't have a custom loop in my test system yet that I'm starting to generate thermal data. A very early process of doing that, so it didn't make it into this particular video. But what I'm able to do is just say the resistance to airflow going through the device. So I'm not saying that the air cooler and the radiator have the same cooling capacity for their surface area, basically. What I am saying is that the resistance to airflow going through it, so how hard is it for this fan to blow air through it, is similar for a air cooler and a radiator. And the U12A I selected originally because it's got a very tight fin stack, creating a lot of resistance. Very similar to a radiator. And what I'm finding is they are indeed very, very similar. So a fan that is good at one should be very good at the other. Now, how good is this fan on a cooler at my noise normalized 10.5 decibel reading? It's at the bottom of the graphs. It's moving an okay amount of air, 1.3 meters per second, but it's not enough for the particular noise level at the 17.5 decibel reading. And at the 10.5, it's not moving very much. There are other fans that just do so much better than it. Looking at particular RPMs, maybe it'll do better here. Well, this leads me to believe, now that I'm looking at this, because most fans can do okay at radiators, but airflow through a case is much more challenging to make a good fan do that, is that I may have received a lemon when I purchased this fan, where it's just a bit too noisy for what it can do, especially when you take a look at the reverse blade, actually doing better than it here. So maybe it is a regular fan, and it's just a noisy bearing, or maybe I got a lemon. This is why in the future I'd like to buy like 5 or 6 of each fan so that I can average the results and basically give you a median result. At 1,500 RPM, well, the Ford edition of the fan is now beating the reverse blade, and it's squarely in the middle of the pack. However, its noise level is a little bit on the high side. It's not extremely loud for the amount of airflow it can. There are other fans around it that are similar to it, but it's just a little bit higher than what I'd prefer compared to many of the other fans. But overall, an okay pick, I would say. Locking into 100% peanut fan signal, here it dropped to last place, but most of the fans on here spin at about 2,000 RPM, so you're comparing a 1,500 RPM fan against 2,000 RPM fans. Of course, it's going to be in last place, but for that RPM, it is moving a fairly adequate amount of airflow, if I'm being completely honest. Airspeed versus that decibel reading, and the yellow is the reverse, while the pink is the regular edition. The pink doesn't do particularly well at lower RPMs, but as RPMs increase, it starts to get in line with the better fans. So are you willing to put up with more noise for your fan so that operates more efficiently? That is up to you to decide. So now we're going to be taking a look at volumetric flow rate in the form of CFM, cubic feet per minute of airflow. And the left graph here is CFM versus RPM. So I need to address the elephant in the room. The reverse blade is not going to do well in this test. And I found out that my anemometer, well, spins in one direction, so if a fan spins in the opposite direction, it causes a lot of interference, and it basically stalls the fan and doesn't allow it to work properly. And that is exactly what's happening to reverse blade fans or counter rotating fans. I have implemented a change that allows me to correct it. Unfortunately, it came about after testing and filming of this fan and did not make it into it. So the reverse blade can be ignored. So the regular fan is in line with my control fan. When we take a look at airspeed versus that decibel reading, once again, we're seeing a similar result where the fan just isn't particularly noise efficient. Compared to other fans, it's at the bottom of the graphs. And, well, let's just leave it there. At 100% peak on fan signal, it's at the bottom of the graphs, but it's also spinning at 1,500 RPM. Most of the other fans on here are spinning north of 2,000. It's just how things are ranking. Yeah. Okay, focus on the pink line. The pink line is this fan. And at the volumetric flirt, it is shifted towards the bottom of the graph. It's doing okay, but there are other fans that are just significantly better than it. So unless you really love this RGB and look of this fan, I would say get a different one if it was me. So, you know, but it's your money. I'm not going to judge you. You're fine doing whatever you want. Value proposition is a very simple thing. It is performance per dollar, and this is in US dollars at its pre-tariff pricing when I first acquired this fan. So pricing is subject to change, and it cannot be controlled by me. But at its original price, so either 1 for 15 or 3 for 35. Oh, I need to note, a fan that is cheap enough, as long as its airflow is adequate, will look great on these graphs. Just like a fan that is too expensive for its high quality airflow is going to look terrible on these graphs. So everything needs to be taken into consideration. I also don't take into consideration appearance factors and quality of bearings. So Noctua is well known for its quality bearings. I can't take that into consideration in terms of a longevity of the fan. That is something I'd like to add in the future. Unfortunately, I am just too small and don't have the funding to get there at this time. Just like I was going to say, with the really cheap fans, it could do really well, even though it might break down a lot. And you also have to make your own decision about RGB lighting and personal appearance for that regard. So the M1-12A is at the bottom of the graphs. At the 6s, this is a duplicate slide. Okay, for the CPU air cooler, the M112 is in last place. It's just not particularly good at it. All right, that brings us to the raw data. The raw data does belong to me and this channel. If you wish to use it for your own personal use, you may go ahead and do so. Otherwise, if you would like access to the data, become a patron, one of my 2 higher tiers, or a YouTube member at one of the 2 higher tiers. The highest tier has access to my full Excel with my graph creation tools. You need to have Excel as a program on your computer, but it gives you full access to it, so you can check it out and look at the numbers that I've generated if you are curious to do so. Or if you just really like what I'm doing and want to help support this channel, which I would really appreciate. I know it's a hard thing to ask to give money to a random person on the internet, but the subscriber money goes directly into funding this channel. It isn't lining my pockets or anything like that. It's literally to upgrade my testing equipment, buy fans, and that kind of rigmarole. But if you don't want to give money to me, I completely understand. But if you like what I'm doing, please think about subscribing. Just having more viewership and subscribers does go a long way in getting this channel a little bit more traction. So if you can do that for me, I really appreciate it. Of course, that depends if you like what I'm doing, which I hope you do, because right now this is basically all just me. Anyways, thank you very much for making this far in my video. I truly appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time here on Computer Tech and More.